All right, they're closing the doors. You're trapped. That's it. Sorry. It's more fun this way, right? So I appreciate so much for you guys coming out. I really, really do. I know it is the last session of the day, on almost the last day. And I know I'm between you and Universal, which is like, you know, that means high bar, right, for trying to be entertaining. And I have no Harry Potter. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I will try my very best to perform magic a little bit on your intranet and things that we can do with SharePoint and all these other pieces as well. So let me get started and switch over here onto our lovely machine, which is doing nothing currently, which is awesome. There we go. That would be good if it showed the slides, wouldn't it? Yay, awesome. Look at that. So I am not going to PowerPoint you to death because I realized when I saw the timing of this session that I was like, you've already seen 1 million slides, you've seen 1 million features and amazing new things. And so what I really want to do is to give a lot of time to our customers who have very graciously decided to come and share their stories with you. And I hope that you will get inspired by their stories because they're all different levels of their intranet journey, and that's what's really important here. But the first things I'm going to do is to sort of talk to you a little bit about some of the capabilities. So I thought the best way to do that was really to sort of start with a demo more than actually slides, right? Sound good? Yes? Yes? Okay, all right. Yes, this is an interactive audience. I can see you, even if you're right at the back there. I do expect you guys to actually like say things, nod heads. Thank you. Wave at the back. I appreciate that. Thank you. So that's all good. I have no patience for the gravitationally challenged right now, okay? We can do this, right? We can do this. So we have 3 intranet journeys that we're going to talk about today. And the reason I wanted to show these 3 different customers for you is really to understand their stories and where they're getting started or whether they're very advanced. And it's really having that journey and understanding that this takes a long time, right? We know that when we're creating an intranet, we're creating that whole digital workplace inside of our organizations, and we know there's a journey that goes on through there. And so I've shown 3 different customers here in order to illustrate each of those steps. That's what's really important to me, is to really show you that you can do this, right? So there's an overwhelming amount of technology, there's features, there's stuff that you have to do inside of your organization, and it's hard and it's messy, and there's a journey associated with it. But we have examples at each step of the way, and so hopefully whatever stage you are at, you will recognize yourself in some way in one of our customers today. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to have sort of that 3 kind of stages that we're thinking about. First thing is really around the building blocks of what you get inside of Office 365 and what you can do with it. And so United is going to talk to that and sort of looking at all of these capabilities and thinking about how do I actually mobilize this inside of my organization. And then the second stage is really understanding that digital workplace. How do I put together a digital workplace that is effective for my organization? How do I tailor these tools and actually make them work for my company? And then really think about how I can deploy that. And then I still have things to do after that, right? It's not just one and done, right? I wish it was, but it isn't. It's always a journey. We know it keeps going after that. But it's great to have that success point and to celebrate that success point to start off with. And then we want to think the sort of last stage here really is around business transformation. And a lot of that is really around how do I get led by my customers? What is it that I can do internally on my intranet to provide not only the workplace and tools that my employees need, but really to help service the needs of my customers even more? And in this case, we're going to talk about how to do expertise location, how do we do professional services better, how do we form together and swarm on customers and teams to really be able to mobilize the talent we need in order to perform customer engagements better. So, quick couple of slides. I know you've seen this 1 million times, which is the universal toolkit for teamwork, but I do want to think about all of these raw components that we have together. And it's really looking at what we're doing across these things. So the most important in some ways on this slide are actually the 3 things that are below the bar there. So the Office 365 groups as a service, I know you've heard a lot about that and what you can do. And so we think about groups inside of Office 365 as being a great way to mobilize conversations and content and a shared notebook and a shared planner file. And so really thinking about how you put those things together inside of your organization. We'll talk about that in just a second. The Microsoft Graph, which is really this digital brain that you have inside of your organization. And we've announced this week some great upgraded capabilities to really look at how we're doing even more personalization and more intelligence inside of the graph. But know that every time you're interacting with different content and with people inside of your Office 365 environment, you're actually growing the graph, right? You're actually adding and putting new behaviors in there. And we can use these behaviors to really deliver a personalized and tailored experience to each of our users. And then finally thinking about security and compliance is obviously built into everything that we do across there. So if we think about that and we sort of think about how we mobilize these capabilities, and again, I'm going to show you this slide. Maybe you've seen it already this week, but I do want to reinforce it because it is an important piece of thinking about what you're doing in your intranet journey. If we think really when we start over here, it's really around the inner loop. And that inner loop is really about how do I do projects, how do I do sort of communities inside of my company that are very small and tight-knit teams. And so I think about the different projects that I'm working on. So if I think about that real-time kind of conversations that you have, whether it's inside like instant messaging, or maybe it's something you might do as a project team that you're working together and the people you sort of do that shuttle email backwards and forwards with of, you know, did you update slide 20? No, I need Brian's new data from his Excel file and I need to do all that back and forth that you have. And that feels like a sort of a chat-based workspace. And that really is that immersive hub that Teams is for. And so we can think about using that inner loop set of tools to not only inform just the tools of what your team is doing, but what we can do from a social intranet perspective. Because when you're planning your social intranet inside of IT and beyond with your other stakeholders, you really need a lot of that immersive environment too. So everybody is on the same page about what you're trying to achieve with your intranet. Right? So the first thing is to have a great planning environment for the folks who are actually going to put this thing in place, right? So if we have that, then we have half a chance of having success with the rest of the organization, right? But the first place is to have that inner loop that's going on with the project team that's actually planning the intranet. And then we think about that outer loop as kind of the way we help to inform and engage, to share and communicate broadly with the rest of our stakeholders. And whether those are inside of our company, and we're basically explaining what we have from our deliverables, from our tools, and from our teams, and we really are able to help interact with the rest of the company and really understand what other communications they need to be broadcasted out and have some dialogue inside of there from a social intranet perspective. And then finally, we have, you know, Outlook is there as kind of that email that's ubiquitous across many use cases. And oftentimes when I look at this slide, I get people asking me, like, why don't we just have one tool, Naomi? Why can't we just have one tool that is just, you know, just has conversations in it and just has SharePoint and just has all of those one things in one place? And then I look at this slide and I say, hey, you know that for the knowledge worker, or at least for the information worker population, we've had email, right, for so many years, right? And that is the one tool, right? Everybody has email if you're an information worker, right? And we see how successful that's been, right? So, right, and we sit there, we have created this, you know, this part here. And so really understanding what we can do to push with these new tools around it and really understand the best use cases to deploy these tools. And so I feel it's important to really think about that when you're planning your social intranet project, is really to look at how do I make the inner loop of people, those stakeholders, the project teams, the folks in IT, have the right sort of technologies that they need so we can actually communicate and collaborate about the project itself. And then when we're ready, basically one of the things we're trying to do is connect that whole company together and have our intranet be part of that and have that social intranet be the outer loop that basically is a communications mechanism for the rest of the company. So given that, let's do a couple of different things here. And I am going to switch to number 7, hopefully. Yes, good. So it always impresses me, just the video switching, it's always good, right? Okay, so I just want to show you a couple of things here because I just want to review SharePoint Home. And we think about this again from the possibility of what a user sees, right, as your employees inside of the company. And so when you first go into the app launcher, what you're actually presented with is the new office.com experience, and then you're actually presented with the SharePoint homepage. And if you think about this, this is really that angle around personalization inside of your company. Because it's not showing you the default homepage for your entire company, it's showing you what's relevant to you in order to help you get work done. And so I'd think very carefully when you're incorporating into your social intranet plans what it is that you see on the SharePoint homepage, and thus what you want to use the homepage of your company for from an intranet perspective. And so I wanted to flag a few things on here that you may not realize is happening inside of the SharePoint homepage already. And so there's a few things that you can see as part of this. And I can see here that I get news items from across my organization. And so I can see from all of the sites basically that I'm following, the sites that I'm a member of, that I'm getting news items. But then I'll see some of these news items are also ones that are suggested to me. And when I see the little suggested icon on the page, it actually demonstrates to me that it's not just a site that I'm following or a site that I'm a member of. It's actually suggesting based on my work behaviors that I have in the graph. So it's actually thinking about different news and different organizational pieces, and it's like, okay, this news may be relevant to you because you work with these colleagues or they work with these sites, right? And so I just wanted to sort of point that out because oftentimes when we think about, you know, the intranet and how will people get all this news together and how will they understand what's relevant to them, that's really one of the big areas that we concern about. So I wanted to show a couple of other things here. I know that this week we launched hub sites that you're very excited about, I'm sure. And we've always had communication sites, but we have some beautiful new designs as part of it too. And so there's a few things that I can do here. So I just wanted to show how easy it is to incorporate some of these pieces here. So I'm going to go ahead and have a topic site and create something here that's called Office 365 Adoption. So I'm going to do that. And so this is one of the ways I would recommend, one of the tools you might think about having inside of your organization and thinking about what you can do inside of the company for adopting Office 365 more generally. And so I can do some classification here. So in this case, I'm going to do general purpose. And we're going to talk about usage guidelines and governance and all those things later on. And so I'm going to go ahead and create this site. Because I have permission to create this communication site, it's going to spool it up in just a second. And then I will be free to basically create resources and components that are actually useful for me. And so it's building that site instantaneously, which if you think about it, is pretty powerful stuff, right? And so there's a few things that I can do. So let's click Finish and say it's done. And so I can see that it's spun up this nice site for me. And it's going to apply my theme because it's inheriting this theme. So there we go. So I have this pretty blue site already, and I can get started with building it. So the reason I'm going to show you this quick example is because I really want to put together what you should do from an Office 365, like an adoption and usage community, because our intranet is not about consuming static information, right? We have a lot of pages that need to be there, policies and guidance and all that kind of stuff. But we really want to think about how do I help to mobilize this inside of my modern workplace? How do I actually get the tooling that I need, and how do I get the knowledge that I need? And so sometimes inside of IT, we feel the burden that we have to support every single application in there, right? And so if we think about creating communities and actually fostering that engagement between people inside of our company, then we actually have half a chance of actually being successful and having people actually support each other as well. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this page. I can put some nice, pretty blocks on the page here. But you know that I can add some web parts, and we have a newly expanded web part gallery in here. And so you can see that I have some featured web parts. I have some highlighted web parts. I can go ahead and add Yammer conversations, for example, in here, which I'll go ahead and do right now. So one of the pieces, as I would mention for your Yammer group in particular, is when you're getting started, is to really think about how you would put Yammer to work in order to connect the users together inside of your company to help support what you're rolling out in terms of new technology. Now, just a show of hands, who's already done this inside of your companies? All right, it's like 4 folks, okay. All right, so 5 folks. Okay, a bit more over there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sitting all the way over there, too. Sounds all good. But this is more, the reason I suggest this is because this is a great use case for Yammer inside of your organization. Yammer is an open space to connect. It doesn't mean that anybody can be a member of Yammer so long as they're as part of your organization. And this is a great way to get started with the tool. It's an outer loop tool, right? It's about informing and connecting people across your company. And the great way to get started with it is to think about using Office 365 tools and what's different and what's new and what's could be learned inside of your company. So think about creating a community out there on Yammer so people can peer-to-peer support. And then you can marry that with the power of SharePoint in a very simple way with a communication site and actually then put this together. So I'm going to say conversations in here. So for example, I've got new conversations. So I'm going to put this on my page. I'm going to publish this page. And so I can put together all of the resources that I would need along with the conversations that I have in my community to help them with the tip sheets and the best practices, and here's the end user videos and all the other pieces that I need to help with that Office 365 adoption, right? And so it's kind of that interactive piece that we have one place to go that helps to model your new intranet. It helps community, the users inside of your organization, the people inside of your organization to really come together and work together and have a place to do this work, and then actually models that behavior for the rest of the organization. So sounds like something that would be easy to do, right? Yes? Easy to put one of these things together? You guys don't believe me yet, that's okay. Copy. Put this in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a stream video, which is one of my favorite little things to do. So I'm going to put this in here. Here's a single video. And so I wanted to show you this because it's an easy way to illustrate what you can do. So in this case, I have a video from the message of the board of directors, which ideally in this case would be an Office 365 video. So what I'm trying to show here is that you can very quickly create a community of practice that helps you spur Office 365 adoption inside of your company while modeling all the new tools that you have on your intranet, right? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Anybody disagree with me? I'm serious. So, okay. I'm going to take that as the corporate yes, where we all basically don't say anything, right? It's like being on the Skype calls when everybody agrees by saying nothing, okay? So... You know it's true. I heard you laughing. You know it's true. So, okay. So we'll do that. So if I showed you that very quickly, and I realize it's maybe not the best example to demonstrate with, but I wanted to show you how quickly you're able to actually put that stuff together and then be able to take that same site in this case and actually interlink it onto another hub. So we showed hub sites early in the week, and you can actually then take that usage and adoption type of resource center that you have a community of practice associated with, and then bubble it under a specific hub inside of your intranet. So just a quick demo to understand how all of that is working. Okay, let's go back to here. So I want to give enough time for our customers. So let's talk about a few things here. So we have the building blocks for our intranet. We think about team sites, we think about communication sites, we think about some of our existing technology in terms of custom publishing sites. And then we think about what we have across our intranet, which is really those hub sites. We have the ability to apply theming and branding, and then really looking at that site design aspects on top of it. So we have these core building blocks and how we can form these together in a very easy and agile manner. And then the second piece here is really understanding what more we can do, right? What more can we do on top of that? Once we have those basic sites set up and that structure set up, I can really take it to the next level and understand what I can do with business applications, things I can do with Power Apps, things I can do with Flow inside of there, all natively supported now from SharePoint Online. And then really looking at intelligent roll-ups and those social highlights. So the ability to add web parts like the most highlighted content, be able to take that web part and use it in new and different ways. And so it's kind of a great way to think about how do I involve the intelligence that I have in the graph, which is understanding what I'm working on and the personalization and all of that communication features, like what am I doing and what am I collaborating on, to actually understand then how does this kind of content actually inform what I'm doing and how I can actually personalize each of these pages that I'm looking at. Okay, so that's enough sort of talking from a building blocks perspective. I'd like to welcome up to the stage Rick Garcia, who's from United Airlines. And Rick is going to share a little bit about how United is really using kind of that inner loop technology right now. They're really at the basic stages of planning their intranet and what they're trying to do. And so they're using this kind of teamwork, this close-knit teamwork, in order to drive the kinds of results that they'd like to see in the future. Come on up, Rick.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for making it out. And it's the last session of the day, right before the big party, so thank you for being here. My name is Rick Garcia. I'm the project manager of the SharePoint engineering team at United Airlines. I've been at United Airlines for over 4 years and been involved in a lot of projects over the years. One of the big job for me when I first got there was to help get United off of 2010, and it's been a long time coming. All the new technology that's coming out with Microsoft, all the things we've been seeing coming out, it's really exciting for us. And just recently, we stood up a 2016 on-prem farm. So we're really excited about that. We don't have any business customers just yet. We do have United Cargo on that farm right now, but we're real excited. We're real excited. We've got Office 365 just recently from the company. So we're moving forward. We're really excited about that. So let me just switch over. There's my company car. So I've been involved with the local user group in Houston for over 10 years. Been involved with as a president for a number of years, helped with SharePoint Saturdays. I've been around SharePoint for years. I know these people. I know Naomi I've known her for years. So the SharePoint community to me is family. So currently now I serve as the board chairman of HPUG. So I'm over all the user group stuff and all the SharePoint Saturday stuff. Anybody wants to connect with me? There's my Twitter and LinkedIn. Okay, let's get started. All right, a little bit about United. So we have about 90,000 employees, probably give or take 94,000 employees. And the way that breaks down, we've got sort of two categories. We call above the wing employees and below the wing. The above the wing employees are usually the pilots and the flight attendants. We've got about roughly 25,000 flight attendants, roughly about 15,000 pilots. And then the below the wing folks are the people that work in cargo, baggage, the gate agents, and customer service reps and things like that. And then I think between our two main customer support centers in Chicago and in Houston, maybe about 4,000 or so office workers, IT folks, developers, and then management. Our current situation, we're on 2010. Our enterprise farm is SharePoint 2010. All of our content's there right now. We've got about 8 terabytes of content, over 50 full trust solutions. We're sort of heavily customized. Our internal site's branded, actually. Something that's given me a little bit of heartburn when I'm thinking about upgrading and migrating off of 2010 and over to 2016. And we've got several hundred sandbox solutions. We also have a project server farm, which our IT department uses to manage all our IT projects and use timesheet reporting and things like that. And we also have, as I mentioned, the 2016 on-prem farm. And just recently, I think back in July, we renewed our agreement with Microsoft, and we now have Office 365, SharePoint Online, so we got to work. Just a few examples of some of the projects that we're doing today. So we recently renewed our agreement. We had Office 365 before for, I guess, the last 3 years, but we didn't have enough licenses. So we really didn't use it because we were afraid that if we use it, then the company changes the direction, and then everything that we worked on would kind of not be worth anything. So we sort of held off. But then when we renewed our agreement, we knew we were going to go that direction. We got to work. We got right after it. So first and foremost, I had to make a site for myself. I had to get in there and create a site for myself. This is a project management team site that I put together. We put together for the team. Started moving some information off of our 2010 site up to the 2016 site, or actually our SharePoint Online site. This sort of gives me a snapshot of where all of our projects are, what our priorities are, upcoming projects, current projects. We've merged SharePoint Online with some Power BI reporting. Once we got a hold of Power BI, we just took off. We were really excited about Power BI, some of the things that you can do with that. Kind of scroll through. I can go in and I can look and see if I click on my name, I can take a look at some of the projects that I'm working on. As you can see, I don't know if you can see how well you can see it, but it looks like I have nothing done because it's all at 0%. So, but another cool thing is some Cortana integration with the Power BI reporting. You can ask Cortana, show me some SharePoint team updates, and it'll pull up who my project leads are and what percentage of the projects that they're working on currently. So some really cool things we're playing around with, we're demoing now. Hopefully we can get our management, our business excited about some of the things we're doing. So our migration project site, so now at this point, we know what our direction is. We're in data collection mode with our 2010 farm. We know we're going to migrate. We don't really know exactly what the path is going to be, but we're in data collection mode. So what we're doing is we're doing all the analysis. We're taking all of the information that we have on our current 2010 farm. We're putting it up in SharePoint Online. And we're using the Power BI to help give us some really detailed visualized reports so we can show our team, our management, this is what we have, this is the content we have. You can expand some of the charts, get in there, dig a little bit deeper. So you can look and see like how many sites we have, how much content we have, the number of users we have, the number of solutions we have. So the next example, being a project manager or the team lead of the engineering group, I need something that can help me track our work, our individualized work between our teams. Our team, the SharePoint operations team, we work hand in hand with the folks that help support our environments. I use Planner pretty heavily. I love Microsoft Planner. I think it's wonderful. I think it's just amazing, almost as great as sliced bread. But this is an example of one of our planner boards for our 2016 build. When we were building out 2016, built a Kanban-style planner board. It says everything that we've done, things that we're working on currently, and then what we have coming up. I also use it for some individualized tasks. So when we meet with the operations team, we're going to actually have a quick 15-20 minute with our operations folks to talk about what's going on with our 2010 farm, what's going on with 2016, are there any issues, any business customers reporting any problems. I can look and see what I'm working on, I can look and see what Joe's working on, and go down the list. And I like the feature, the built-in public shaming feature, where if you're late, it puts red right by your name. So you can see there's a lot of red by my name, and of course Joe. We'll have a talk when I get back to work. Next is, and this is also some cool features. You can tag your tasks, your priorities. You can get in there and you can mark some tasks as urgent. And you can customize it, so you can say, okay, blue is an engineering task, or green is an operations task. You can do things like that. And if you have a particular task that's got multiple steps in it, you can add a checklist in there as well. Some things that I like. And if you're commenting on an item, it actually adds to the comments down at the bottom. So you can also see the history of what's been done with that particular task. And then the Planner Hub. The Planner Hub is a very quick snapshot of what's going on. How many tasks have been completed, how many tasks are red, and there's some red by my name. So, but that was done a long time ago. This is an old slide. So, but you can quickly see where we're at with our current project for the build. And we can get in there and drill in and say, all right, what's going on with this project? What's going on with this task? Let's talk about it. And then one of my favorite features is the mobile app. The mobile app is great. I just downloaded it probably a couple of weeks ago, and it's nice. Some of our calls are 10 or 15-minute calls. Our farm never goes down, so our calls aren't very long. When we have some troubleshooting calls, they tend to be really, really quick. So I don't have to undock my computer, go to a room, and sit there and pull everything up on the computer. I have it right there on my phone, and I can just get on a conference call and go through the tasks. All right, what's going on with this issue? What's going on with this issue? And we scroll right through, and it's great. So this project right here, this is something we're working on for our server refresh team. This is actually our first big project for a business customer. Everything else that we've been working on is more internal, but this is our first big project for a business customer. At United, 90,000 employees. We're a global company. We've got computers and we've got servers all over the world. And if you work for a large organization, you know that after every several years, you've got to take your hardware, use time to refresh your hardware. And with a company as large as United, once you go through the process and you refresh all your hardware, say it takes a couple of years, 2-3 years or whatever, by the time you get done, it's time to start over again. So we use again, Power BI, and a project site we created, a SharePoint online group site that we created to give our upper management an idea where we are with our refresh project. Some of the things that we've been doing with this, just to give you some examples, it actually is expanded to include more back-end network equipment, not just servers, but also laptops and desktops. So this project the reporting is now rolling up to, I believe, the CIO now. So we're really excited about that. And Power BI, we love Power BI, how dynamic it is. You can click on a status on one of your charts, and it filters everything out, so you can actually see which one of the, if you click on completed servers, you can actually look and see, all right, well, this is what percentage of servers have done by this particular manager if he's a server owner. We've also experimented with different charts and graphs. This is one thing we're doing. It's like a burn down chart. It gives us a history of where we are, what our status is for the month, how many servers that we've refreshed for the month. And you can also filter by name, by status, if it's completed, decommissioned, and then it'll show, it'll actually change everything here on the charts. And we've also added some geolocation data, so we know where all of our servers are. This is actually really cool. We actually really like this. There's some geolocation data, and actually pinpoint where all of our servers are across the enterprise. And some other things we've done like a heat map, which this was kind of cool. I don't know the relevance but we were sort of playing around with it. We popped that up there for the management to see, just to give them some different examples of different things we can do. So that doesn't mean that, it just shows more the concentration of the servers. It doesn't mean that we have a fire going on in Houston or anything like that, but we do have a server floating in the middle of the ocean there. So, but now this is really cool. Yeah, we like that. We're just playing around and experimenting with different things. And another thing we've done, just kind of, if you want to know by state how many servers we have in Illinois, how many servers we have in Texas. And then our last real example is we do use Yammer. We use Yammer probably not as much as we should, but one thing we do use it for, we use it for company news. We do for alerts for outages. If we're taking a planned outage, if we're making an upgrade to a TFS, for instance, and we'll put out some notifications here. We'll also send an email blast. But this is a really good tool for us to use to get the message out company-wide, because this hits, of course, everybody. And everybody gets email notifications on all the Yammer posts. We also use it to just, in general, company information. So to sort of bring out that new spirit of United, talk about some of the things we're doing from our local hubs, some things that we're doing to sort of promote, togetherness within the company. And then just in general information about the company, like, CEO of the company came down a couple of months ago and I had the opportunity to meet him, so I have to tell everybody about that. So, so the big question is, what's next for United? So I only manage just the SharePoint team. There's a full initiative going on to actually do the migration to Office 365, the Skype for Business, the Exchange, email, the Office Pro Plus deployment. So there's a lot of things that another business unit, management, they're working on separately. And I'm working with them on getting the SharePoint piece migrated as well. So there's some things that we're discussing now, like how do we move 2010 off? How do we get off of 2010? And what's the path? Is it use a tool, go up to the cloud, just move data straight in, or we're going to upgrade it to 2016, sort of do a clean slate, fix everything, then move up to the cloud? So there's a lot of uncertainty there. We're still planning this thing out. We already have sort of direction on migrating to Office 365. We know what we're doing there. In terms of the SharePoint piece, we know that the future direction is going to be hybrid, so we want to employ the hybrid search. How can we've got, our data center, we have our own data center, so we have some challenges with making sure that our 2016 farm connects properly with SharePoint in the cloud, in Office 365. How are we going to get upgraded? What is our disaster recovery strategy going to be? And last but not least, which is probably one of the more complicated projects that we're going to go through this year and next year, is how do we convert our applications, 2010 applications? We've got to get them fixed, remediated, converted up to either deprecate some, convert some to apps, or we'll upgrade them into 2016. But we're real excited. Some of the things that I've seen at the conference this week, some of and talking to folks, especially about the hub sites, one of the biggest sources of heartburn for me is, what's going to happen if we tell the company we have Office 365, go out and create sites and do all these things, and how do you manage and track who has what sites? If you've got people from HR, this person from HR creates a site, then this person creates a site, an HR site. And then we talked about earlier this week hub sites, and I was like, well, that's great. That's going to solve that problem right there. Talking to Brian and saying, well, we did a lot of this stuff like last year. This was a big problem for us. How do we deal with it? And they ended up having to do their own solution, and now it comes out to, well, we don't have to deal with that particular problem because the problem's sort of been solved for. So in a way, it's good that we're sort of, not to say late to the game, but we've been forward thinking. But at this point, some of these new features sort of help us get, as far as our strategy, get to where we need to be, I think, a little bit quicker, rather than kind of going through some of the early pains of some of the other, some of y'all have experienced. So. And with that being said, I'll turn it back over to Naomi.
All right. Thanks so much, Rick. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So, of Rick's examples, right, really starting at the beginning, thinking about that inner loop communications, like how do I use Power BI, how do I use a SharePoint team site, use Teams, other things, collaborate. How many of you guys are in this kind of situation right now? Just getting started. Okay. All right. I'm going to say that's about a quarter or so of the room, so it's good to know. All right. So, it's good to sort of think about, you see, there are other people in your shoes, and now we're going to think about the progress going forward. So I would love to invite up to the stage Brian Duke from Thermo Fisher, who's going to tell us about the very recent implementation they have of their new intranet. Woo, thank you, Brian.
Thank you. All right, so I spent most of my time going through the screenshots I'm going to show you and putting in fake names and things, so my slides aren't nearly as nice as Rick's, but we're going to do the best we can here. First and foremost, I've got to do the spot for Thermo Fisher Scientific. If you're not aware of who we are the world leader in serving science. We have a global scale of approximately 69,000 employees. We have more than $20 million in annual revenue, and of course, we have 5 major brands which are listed below. Our mission is to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Now on to our journey from this part of the project that Naomi was referencing and Rick and I were talking about earlier this week when we were going through our slides. We started this project way back in 2014. I'm going to talk a little bit about that timeline coming up, but I wanted to start on our focus first. Our focus was to power our employees' connections to tools, information, and each other. We did that under 3 pillars, and our 3 pillars were work smarter, innovate faster, and connect globally. When we're talking about work smarter, what we're referencing there is enhanced search functionality. We built search into a lot of the solutions and pages that we put in place. The reason for this was twofold. One, we wanted things to be dynamic so that individuals didn't have to go and manage every single facet of their sites. But we also wanted to point to people that search is extremely powerful. In our former solution, search was a sore spot, as I'm sure it is for a lot of individuals who have been fighting with this for a while. And we wanted to make it a real big part of our solution so that it didn't become a sore spot, it became a strength. Further, we wanted to personalize our experience for fast and easy access to tools and information. We wanted to make sure that our employees were using our intranet for their day-to-day jobs, for things that they do on a consistent basis, so they can personalize it to their needs. When we talk about innovating faster, that's all about connecting with the right people, experts, and answers. So we wanted to have that capability built into this solution, and we wanted to make sure that we tapped into our massive organizational knowledge base. And then connect globally kind of goes hand in hand with what I just referenced. We really wanted a two-way, real-time communications hub. And then, of course, we wanted, and if you're doing any kind of web-based solution today, we wanted to make sure it was responsive and available on a mobile device or a laptop or a tablet. So where we started, we launched way back when, and actually first when I came inside with the company, or on board with the company, it was in 2010, we actually launched a solution which we refer to as iConnect. We ended up keeping that name, but that was launched on SharePoint 2007, way back in 2010. We had that solution for a long time, as you can tell from this slide, from 2010 to 2016. And then, of course, after that, and amidst this part of the process, in 2014, we acquired a company called Life Technologies. It was a rather large acquisition, and they were using the Jive product for their solution in their intranet at the time. So in that same time frame, we took advantage of this acquisition and of the 2 different tools that were working together, or actually working independently of each other, and we put together a team to try to do the best we could to bring together 2 legacy intranets and create a best-in-class digital workplace solution. I only have one screenshot of where we were before, but this is what iConnect looked like from the SharePoint 2007 instance. I'm sure it's kind of similar designs. It looks like it was from about 1998, and it was a sore spot for us, so we were trying to make a much better, visually appealing solution for where we were.
Does anybody else's intranet look like this right now? It's all right to be, okay, all right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, all right. So there is hope, and it's
coming. There is hope. So before we get started going through some of the templates and some of the screenshots, I just wanted to explain how we wanted our solution to work. We spent a lot of time developing our requirements. We had 30+ OneNote pages of requirements that the team collaborated on putting together. We wanted the power of SharePoint, but the ease of use of Yammer. So we wanted it all in one place. We didn't want someone to have to go out to Yammer to use Yammer, to go out to SharePoint to use SharePoint. We wanted it all integrated in one solution, so it felt very familiar to when you go home and you leave the office and you use a Facebook, or you use a LinkedIn, or you use a Twitter. We wanted that similar look and feel. We also wanted an attractive, modern-looking design. You know, we were talking a little bit about it earlier this week. We felt that there's twofold. One, if it looks really good, it buys you a little bit longer rope in case something's not working as you expect it to. But it's just something that's appealing. If something's appealing, you're more apt to accept it and run with it and work with it, because it's not something that makes you feel bad every time you look at it. Then we wanted structured architecture for easier navigation. We wanted, organic growth is really good in Yammer and in tools like Yammer. The problem we thought about with that when we were reviewing best practices was it tends to reinforce silos. So we did not want to reinforce silos. We wanted to really encourage this work out loud scenario and open up our collective knowledge across the company. We also wanted consistency in layouts and design. You'll see that in the next few slides when I start going through some of the layouts. We wanted you to go from one page to another, and not feel like you have to look in different sections of the pages to find content because somebody decided that this design was their preference and someone else decided this design was theirs. And then lastly, of course, we wanted to unlock the entire potential of Office 365's available tools. We wanted Delve for our user profiles, and they are our user profiles. We wanted OneDrive for personal cloud storage. We wanted Flow for automation. We wanted Power Apps for some mobile app development and internal development. And we wanted to use a video-based solution at the time, and currently we're using Office 365 Video, but we wanted also to take advantage of Stream once that came out. And further, you've got Power BI. Who doesn't want analytics to be able to run into that deeply and look into what Rick was talking about a little bit earlier? We want to adopt Groups, Teams, and Planner and take advantage of every single tool that exists within this suite. So where we finished in terms of our homepage design, I would hope you would think, after looking at that monstrosity that was a few slides earlier, that this is superior to what that was. But this is our homepage for our new iConnect. It is the SharePoint Online and Yammer integrated as one solution. The feed that is existing on the homepage is your personalized feed. I'm going to highlight certain features of these pages as I go through this. First and foremost, talk about our header. We baked in Translate by Bing on every single page within our header, so you can translate any page within iConnect from English to up to 50 different languages in real time. You also have links directly out to your Outlook Online and Outlook Calendar email and calendar and email, so you can get to those quickly from anywhere within the internet if you need to. Over on the right, we created what we call our personal tool set. This kind of references what I talked about earlier, where we wanted employees, when they logged in on a day-to-day basis, to access things that they need, not stuff that we decided they need, things that they need. So you can customize this when you log in. You click an edit button. There's a store available for you. You can choose from over 150 different tiles right now, and we do not restrict anybody asking for new tiles. So if you need it to do your job on a day-to-day basis, or it would be helpful for you to have, it's a simple request via a form. We turn it around usually within 24 hours, and it's then available from that point forward. Of course, this is your Yammer feed. This is, again, your feed as an employee for the organization coming in here. As you go out through these other pages, I'll point it out when we go to a couple sub-pages, and choose to join additional groups within Yammer, this feed updates. So you don't even have to go out to those sites after the fact if any updates are happening and they're correctly using their Yammer feeds to publicize what's going on there. You'll get them right there front and center from your homepage. Next, we worked in our mega menu. We stole egregiously from some consumer-based solutions that are out there and kind of copied their approach. One of the main things we put about here is it's multiple levels deep of the organization, but we also worked in mega menu ads. So if you wanted to publicize something, say a town hall is coming up, say a product launch is happening, say a project team has won an award or something like that, you could use this ad space to do that. And for every section that's over in the gray area is a different ad. So you can really use this as a way to fight the fight, which I'm sure all of us have had, of everybody asking for space on the homepage. Right now, you're looking at what we refer to as our business page. Again, you'll see is a consistent layout for the most part. Some of the features here you're going to see a bit more in some of the other slides that are coming. But specifically on this one, you'll see we obviously have your news, we have your header. Those are consistent based upon the home page as you go through. But we also have feeds that are integrated to each page. Our provisioning process actually creates a Yammer group when a site's created and integrates it and embeds it specifically into that site. So the end users don't have to do that themselves. And it's got a little bit of style injected into it. And of course, it's got that very big blue join button, which is very important to our solution. If you find this information is useful to you, we heavily encourage our employees to click that join button so that every update that happens in that feed comes to their home page and they can interact with it. On the right-hand side, leadership messages was important for our business users, so we put that in place so every respective leader to each business that we have within the organization has the ability to post either a static message for a quarter, maybe a weekly message if they prefer to blog or do something similar to that, but that's all based upon tagging. Most of our articles in this solution are all based upon tagging, so that is the only way you make it work, which is how we enforced the ability of getting our search better by tags. And those blue buttons on the right, that is our main navigation. We call it our Learn About Us buttons. The two ones that I'm going to point out here specifically are the top middle and top right, which is the Our People button, and the Our Collab Sites button. Collab Sites, we refer to them, those are our team sites. The Our People button launches an actual predefined search for the respective business you're looking at. So you can then go out to a people search and see if this is business ABC, everybody within the organization who falls under that business. And then you have the e-commerce style of refinements where you can sift through looking for people with specific skill sets, maybe in certain locations, those type of things. One thing to note here is your personal tool set actually follows you everywhere you go, so it's kind of been miniaturized in this solution. When you go down to subsites and subpages, you'll see it there if you need to get back to one of those day-to-day tools that you need. And then last but not least on this site, we have our business spotlight. This was more meant for people who are visitors of your specific site to know a little bit about your specific business without diving in and looking through a ton of different pages to learn more. Next up is our iConnect region page. So we are broken down also or geographically. So we have regions, countries, and site locations as different templates. You can see again, there's consistency among them. But specifically here, the only thing that's different from what you saw on the business site is on the right, we list countries. So our country sites are listed there. And then, of course, they have another little news carousel to promote news to their respective regions. This is our function page. This is one of the few I didn't have to blur or change that much because it's mine, and I don't mind my name being out there. So the only difference you'll see here is we looked at, when we were doing a lot of our requirements, we looked at our functions as almost being internal consultancies, right? So if somebody's coming to your function, they're looking for your help on something internally. We are intranet solutions in this respective example, so you'll see a lot of things to do and such that are relevant to what we do. But we felt, quick about us, this is what we do for the organization. Here are the top 10 tasks that you can come and interact with us on or work with us with. So click off of those and they get you exactly where you need to go. And then last on the screenshots, we have our collaboration sites, which are our team sites, as I referenced earlier. Again, heavy Yammer integration. You saw that on all these other slides. Those are all specific to each site you're looking at. This is what we refer to as our public collaboration site, meaning that it is open to everybody in the company to read and interact with. There is a feed embedded as you create it, so anybody coming here who might be interested in the project or the team or the collaboration that's happening can quickly join it, follow updates, and see what's happening. One of the things we're really proud of, too, is we took a little bit further beyond Yammer's conversation piece, and we used flow to extend the integration as well. So what we did is we created some flows. So for example, in those respective site feeds that exist, we've gone to specific sites that have a lot of collaboration in there, and we've actually used flow to say, hey, every time a new document's been added to the document library, post and tell that feed about it so anybody following it knows that new activity has occurred. Same thing when a new list item has been added. So again, that someone doesn't necessarily have to go to the site to check. It's kind of coming to them, meeting them where they are. And then last, of course, we have a process built into our project process, which collects feedback via email, which just emails our respective Yammer group and collects it and puts it in our feed as well. Moving on to metrics. I know these are kind of bare bones. They're not really getting in it too deep, but you can see it's been wildly successful so far. We're hopeful that the trend on the bottom continues to move up. But we have around 22,000 users visiting our SharePoint instance per day. We have a lot of collaboration growth that doesn't seem to show any signs of slowing down. We have a lot of Yammer activated accounts, 36,000 activated accounts within 6 months of launch, and of that, 31,000 have been, I say, quote unquote, engaged. That's the Yammer engaged definition in the past 28 days. Really important here, what I'd like to leave off on is that we have over 100,000 likes, 3.5 million reads, and 53,000 posts over that 6-month period of time. So we've seen explosive growth, and we've heard a lot of anecdotal evidence from individuals within the organization saying how much they feel Yammer has connected them to the organization that they felt very disconnected from in the past. And with that, that's my information. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, either after the session here at Universal tonight with a beer in your hand to hand to me, hopefully, or Twitter if you'd like to connect with me after the fact. But thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Brian. All right, are we feeling inspired? I know it's late, I know you're tired, but yes, come on, all of these ideas, right? These are things that we can do. As simple as I put on that stuff from the web parts there, we can think about how we can build these components. Ideas should be percolating, feeling good? Yes? Yes, all right, yes, come on, guys. We're all working hard up here as well, you know? I know it's hard to listen. Thank you. All right, so I got my customers doing great work for you guys here. So, and they're not getting paid for this, you know, it's just beer afterwards and like, hey, Naomi made me do this. So that's what happens. All right, it is my great pleasure to welcome the amazing Greg Nemeth from EY up to the stage and take us into the future and what we can do when we have real business transformation at our hands. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you. So thanks, everybody. My name is Greg Nemeth. I work at EY. I lead our knowledge platform function, which is responsible for the product management and operational support of all of our digital enablers that help to drive knowledge sharing, collaboration, and really forms the nucleus of our intranet, our global intranet at EY. So, with that, let me provide maybe just a little bit of context before I jump into, what hopefully will be helpful, 3 helpful scenarios that really show how we've assembled different components of, the Microsoft offerings into something that's personalized, that's cohesive, but also really helps to drive, our business at EY. So if you're not familiar with EY, we're a professional services firm. We're global. We operate in over 150 countries. We're about 250,000 employees worldwide, providing audit, tax, transaction, and advisory services. A couple of things that are a little bit unique about the EY environment, and these are important because it helps to really explain some of the decisions that we've made in terms of our digital workplace, the priorities that we have, and then how we're really trying to leverage it in terms of our day-to-day business. First is, just based on the consulting model that we have, the client service model that we have, every year we hire an enormous number of university graduates and experienced hires. So for example, last year alone, we hired over 65,000 new folks into the organization, and that's, year over year. So that's one important dimension just to keep in mind. The second is the fact that over 50% of our end user population is under the age of 30. So again, a little bit of a different dynamic when we look across the board. And then finally, just based on what we do, we don't build a product to sell. We provide a service for all of our clients in the form of our insight, our experiences, our interpretive guidance. This requires an immense focus on knowledge as being a key differentiator for us. So you'll see in the examples, you'll see in some of the things that I talk through, how much that really underpins what we've done across our digital workplace. So first of the 3 different scenarios I want to cover, this is probably one of the most important because again, in our business, people ends up being the most important ingredient. And behind our people, we have what we call our Discover People experience. This is an Office 365 profile where, hopefully you'll recognize some of the common elements, but then what we've done is we've augmented that with data sets that are really critical for personal brand building in our environment, for our ability to grow and expand our business, and then finally for expertise location. So you can see kind of the manifestation of this on the slide. Hopefully, again, you'll see some of those recognizable elements of the O365 profile experience. So the photo, ask me about me, et cetera. But then the three components that we've added to all of our profiles are in that middle panel, kind of below the about me. The first is a CV element. So CV or resume, really instrumental to our pursuit process. Often the deliverables get packaged together, and that's part of what we use in terms of winning new business. Well, what we do is we leverage a SharePoint document library. We allow our folks to go ahead and store their CVs, those resume files, in that library, and then automatically associate that content and display it back with the profile. So that's really helpful and critical just in terms of the environment in which we operate. The second element is our engagement history. So you can imagine in our business the ability to understand dynamically at any given moment the work that we're doing with our clients and a little bit of information that's really helpful so that we can connect the talent that we have with the market opportunity. So what we've done is we've integrated our profile solution with our global time and expense system. We're dynamically capturing on a rolling 24-month basis the chargeable time that all of our practitioners have, and we're summarizing it across three different buckets. So first, with the industry segment that they're doing their work. The second, the business unit specific to how we organize ourselves across the firm. And then the third is the specific solution or service that we're actually rendering for the client. So in this way, all of our users can quickly see and understand the level of maturity, the level of insight that all of our practitioners have just based on the work that they're doing with their clients on a day-to-day basis. And then the third element, and again, you'll see that this gets reinforced numerous times, is our knowledge contribution component. And because of the importance of knowledge to our business, to really reinforce that, what we do is if a user has contributed to a piece of knowledge collateral, if they're the author of that piece of knowledge collateral, we automatically display that within the profile. And again, this kind of serves two purposes. It's a great reinforcer. It's a great brand builder for that individual to showcase their talents, their contributions. But it also sends a really strong signal in terms of expertise location. Because not only as you look at a profile can you see what the user has claimed their skills, their experience is, their history with that CV, what types of engagements they tend to work on, but if you've got that additional signal where they're not just doing that work, they're also contributing in a really meaningful way in terms of a piece of leading practice knowledge collateral, that really raises the bar in terms of the level of credibility that individual might have over whatever the domain of knowledge might be. And again, all of these items, not only do we display it, render it, present it with the presentation of the profile, we also use the queues process and enrich the index so all of that content is part of our expertise location. So when you search for a person, if they've done work for Internet of Things, and maybe that's something that's represented in a knowledge object, maybe that's in their CV, that's going to help drive relevance to bring that individual to the top of the results. So again, hopefully what we've shown is that we've created something that's fairly lightweight to encourage end user participation, but also something that's pretty highly powered where we're automatically integrating the information that's critical for our business, the data that we know about the individual, we're automatically associating that with the profile. So the second example that I wanted to talk through, and this is again is a little bit unique to our business, and it really is the way that we associate our user-generated social dialogue with our highly curated content. So again, knowledge is critical for us. All of the knowledge that gets submitted from our practitioners ends up in a set or series of document libraries, SharePoint document libraries. We've got workflow associated with those where a team reviews, vets those. If required, they'll go ahead and redact certain components to ensure that we've been true to our legal obligations with our clients, and then also inject some search engine optimization to ensure that that piece of knowledge collateral can be found in a number of different aspects, number of different enablers that we have across our digital workplace. So when you view a piece of content, and that's kind of depicted on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see kind of the traditional document viewer. You've got the metadata, the abstract, the title. Those are kind of in the center panels as you work your way down the screen. But then, to the right, we've got the connection back with people. So the authors and contacts for that particular knowledge object. If you were to click on those, it would take you to that same profile that I just walked through earlier. But then interestingly, at the bottom of the screen, we've got a panel where what we've done is with every single piece of knowledge collateral that gets publicized, we automatically create an anchor in a Yammer group with a start of a discussion thread, and that's what's embedded in that bottom panel. And what this does is it facilitates a dialogue between the content consumers and the content creators. And that's been really valuable from two perspectives. One, it adds a little bit of crowdsourcing information to the knowledge collateral. So if you're a consumer, you go in, you can kind of get a sense for the context in which that piece of knowledge was being used, its helpfulness in the process. And then two, it creates a great feedback loop between the consumer and the content provider. Hey, this piece of content was really valuable, but I used it in a completely different context. You may want to consider adding that or rounding out the document. Or hey, this element, it's kind of out of date, needs some enhancement, go ahead and augment it. Contact me, we can talk through a scenario. So again, really, really helpful to ensure that our highly curated knowledge content doesn't remain static. It's very vibrant, and there's this connection between those that are consuming and those that are producing. And then finally, as we look at the last example, just in terms of how we embed our formal and informal content together. And basically what we've done, we've invested quite heavily in our formal site structure, where we're really trying to create line of business applications, line of business sites across our intranet, which become the hub for where all of our practitioners can go so that they can get everything from learning collateral, knowledge information, announcements, events that are happening. They can see the leadership team that's associated with that particular business unit, whatever the case might be. That's in an O365 team site where we've really kind of pushed the boundaries in terms of the publishing capabilities to provide a really rich experience. I think now, having seen the latest in terms of communication sites is very similar to that concept. But I think what's also interesting is what we've done is we've layered in underneath that all of our endorsed communities, which typically have an affiliated Yammer group embedded with it, so that it starts to provide not just anchor points across our digital workplace, so it's very clear for our practitioners, many of whom are new joiners, to go and get oriented and get what they need, but also provides a degree of flexibility so that as new topics, as new dynamics in the market start to really be brought to bear, we don't have to completely obliterate our intranet, the information architecture. It's adding new layers to what already exists in terms of a common construct that many of our folks have gotten quite used to. And again, it's just a series of O365 team sites that have, again, pushed the boundaries on the publishing side with a typical O365 team site to address communities and then embedded Yammer groups. Again, really providing this kind of vibrant fabric that allows us to be both structured but also flexible as new things emerge. So again, hopefully just quickly, what I've walked through are just those three examples. Our profile in terms of how we've created that personalized experience that's high-powered, that has the information that's critical to our business being injected into it, the way that we interact and show the layering of social and highly curated content together and the power that that can bring. And then finally, the way that we intersperse our line of business sites that are highly structured and help distribute information with our community and, again, our social content so that you get this, again, vibrant kind of fabric that allows us to flex. I think at the end of the day, all of this and how we've assembled these different Microsoft components, really allows us to create that personalized experience, something that's unique to the individual, helps them advance their career, helps them be successful with our clients, but also creates a really business-relevant environment for us that helps us to drive the enterprise, out in the market.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg.
Sure.
Really great. Awesome. I get very inspired, right, when I hear these customers talking about what they've done, right? I'm really thinking about, if you'd started with Greg's journey right in mind, you'd be like, oh, this is not really, maybe I can't get that far, right? But now we've seen examples from United with Thermo Fisher and then to EY to sort of showcase that journey along the way. So it's a few things that I would like to show you. We have 10 minutes left, so hang in there. We're getting there. So we've got a few more things to just demonstrate to you very quickly. The first one I wanted to show you is just some of the resources that are available to you. So if you're just in that stage where you're getting started, we have a lot of different resources that are out there. And instead of just showing you all of these on a slide, I thought it'd be more useful to actually walk through a couple of them. So the first one is the Office 365 Training Center. This is publicly available. It's out on the web with some all-new training in there. And it includes things like SharePoint and OneDrive and Teams and has some end-user-focused videos. So for the longest time, everybody's asked us for, we need little videos, right, to explain how to create a list or a news item or all that kind of stuff. You can find those things out here on the support.office.com site. It's at the Office 365 Training Center. So that's the first one I wanted to mention. The second one is really around the productivity library, just being able to see all of the different scenarios. So if you need to be able to do things like filtering by industry or role to understand how to use all of the different tools that we have inside of Office 365, this is really helpful to be able to describe that. So it has a number of scenarios in here. You can go through and you can look at how to use these. It has some videos and images, etc., that you can use as well in your own stuff, and actually helps you to understand how to use these tools in a different way. And then the final one that I want to show you is our new site, which we're still building out, but it's at resources.techcommunity.microsoft.com. And so this is a great place that we'll be building out with all of these end-user resources, and we'll include pages here for the social intranet. What I have up here is the Yammer content, which is really, really in-depth and fantastic stuff to look at. So not only just a success guide and being able to understand how to use communities in practice, but also things around governance and usage policy guidance. All of this stuff is brand new and launching for Ignite, so we're very excited about all of these pieces here. So that's some resources very quickly. And then I wanted to show you a little bit more in terms of talking with our customers in terms of what else is really important to what we're working on. So if you guys would like to come back up on the stage for just a second, and we'll talk about kind of two big questions for us. As you work on your intranets, and we've talked about the technology, and we've seen where everything is, it would be great to understand a little bit more in terms of what's been the most important thing for you from a non-technical perspective, like what's been the most critical thing to understand or get buy-in inside of your organization. Go ahead, Rick.
So the most critical non-IT thing to understand?
Non-tech.
Non-tech.
That's the hard part, right?
So I think the big challenge for us, the most critical non-IT thing is just understanding what the business wants in general. We feel like, so we're sitting here, we're the IT folks, we think we know what the business wants, but in some ways we really don't. So it really, for us, we really need to get out there and talk to our users, talk to our customers, our business customers, talk to the people that are actually working on the ramp, working on the planes, and are working in offices, and just really understand, well, we have these tools, how can we apply them to everyday, everyday life, business, productivity.
That's cool. Good to know. Good to know. Brian?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty easy for me because I'm not in IT. I'm in the business. I live in that gray area between IT and the business. So for me, I'd say it's change management, to be honest with you. I'd say it would be having a very clear, concise, understandable change management plan, communicated out a lot, making sure you're hitting your end users so they understand what's coming, what's going to mean to them, how's it going to affect them, and how are they going to be successful. Having that as a part of this intranet launch comparatively to our former intranet launch, it was night and day.
It's awesome. Good to know. Good to know. Greg?
Yeah, also easy, although maybe not as pleasant as Brian's. Working with risk and legal is probably the biggest fundamental challenge along the way. And I think, what we've learned is that we really need to work as partners. I mean, I think initially there was a lot of head butting. Obviously we wanted to be pretty aggressive in terms of what capabilities we could take advantage of, but maybe weren't quite as appreciative of the legal obligations, and especially operating in a regulated business, that we have to legitimately recognize. So I think that's been the thing that we've really learned over the last several years, is that if we can really try to understand what the objectives are, if they're willing to listen to what goals we're trying to accomplish, if we can work with them in a more of a partnership mold, that gets us a lot farther, rather than constantly butting heads over every item.
That's good to know. Yeah, definitely. So let me ask it a little bit in terms of success and failures. Like what are the big things that you've learned on this journey? Brian, I'll go ahead and start with you this time.
Thanks. Success and failures. Well, you can't please everybody.
Right.
That's the biggest one. And don't be prepared to think that you can, because you're going to have naysayers. You're going to have folks that don't quite necessarily understand it, or may not be thinking in the global scale of what you're trying to do, and they have what is really important to them front and center, and that's the only really thing that matters. So really not getting stuck doing that. I said that's the biggest learning point that I've had, and it was a success and a failure on that front throughout the project. Failure-wise, I don't know if I'd say a failure. I just say it's an adaptable scenario, which is just keeping up with all the changes that are coming. We've got some work to do. We've done custom dev, as you saw with the page layouts that we put out there. So now we've got to figure out how we're going to work in and take full advantage of Teams and the different sites that are coming out with Office 365.
That's great. Good to know. Greg?
Yeah, I think the big thing for us is really being business relevant. I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we would like to align ourselves with revenue generation, we're often a cost item, and we've got to make sure that we can justify that and really show the value that can be added, and have a real keen area, aspect of focus in terms of what really will help our practitioners, increase our ability to either win work or to enrich the relationships that we have with clients. At the end of the day, for our business, that's the name of the game. So if we can't recognize those dynamics and understand how we can really help that, then yeah, we're kind of out of sync. So I think that's the big thing, staying in sync with that and really being relevant to the business.
That's great. And then Rick, I know you're just at the start, but what have you learned so far?
So what I've learned so far is it's great to see the evolved, I guess the two different iterations of your Office 365 digital workplace experience. I guess for me in the beginning, it's like you have all these technologies coming out. So how do I apply it? Where do I get started first? And when we first got the go-ahead to move forward with Office 365, it was like, well, what do we do? So we said, let's just start building out our own site, start from there. And then we started sort of evolving into bringing in some components of Power BI and started using a little bit more of Yammer, and then started coming to these conferences and hearing from other customers, other success stories. So we could totally do that. We can totally get started and go in that direction. So I think for my standpoint, it gets even more exciting to see the energy from some of the other customers out there, and just listening to what everybody else is doing, and hearing the energy from Jeff Teeper on the stage, and from Satya, and from you, of course. And it just kind of gets me going. I just can't wait to get back to work. And I was telling my wife, when we first got Office 365, when we're out there, we're playing with this stuff, and I'm so excited. She goes, "What's going on?" I said, "I feel like I just started a new job, So, but it's been fun so far, and we're looking forward to moving forward on the rest of everything else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. We're going to finish off. We have like 2 minutes left, and we're going to go really quickly on this. So I'm going to ask Greg to talk to us a little bit about sort of the organizational piece, those intranet considerations, and thinking about that different areas across our intranet.
Yeah, so I mentioned the challenge of working with risk and legal, and the necessity of having that strong partnership. Just a quick example of where initially there was a lot of pushback when we wanted to launch our Yammer network back in 2013. And what we really had to do was sit down with them and agree to a series of kind of controls, if you want to call it that we would put in place to recognize how we can ensure both the value of what we were trying to get out of it, but also the responsible use component. So there's a number of things that we did. You can see that represented on the slide. I'm just going to quickly comment on three: moderation, auditing, and data purging, because they're a little bit unique. Moderation really kind of came up with a structured process of educating our community managers, not just to be supportive positively in terms of growing and maturing their groups, but also, what to look for, how to ensure that we were being responsible, with our Yammer activity, and then associating that with some discrete processes. So whether it was, maybe a client confidentiality concern or an HR concern or a copyright concern, there's a clear path and process for how to deal with that effectively. Auditing, we made a commitment that in spite of all of these controls put in place and being that we're an audit firm, hey, we'll do auditing. So we've committed every quarter, we pick, randomly a week, 2 days within that week, and we literally will review every single post that occurred in that 48-hour period. And that's just, again, to ensure that there aren't things that are being missed, that we're maintaining that legal commitment that we have that's so important for our particular industry. And then finally, data purging. Because this is an informal environment, the attorneys get extremely nervous because, somebody might say something out of turn because they don't realize that this is, it's in print, it's discoverable. So, what we've got is a automatic data purging process to really kind of shrink that e-discovery envelope down to what is just required. And that just gave them enough reassurance to allow us to move forward. It also has the side benefit of really ensuring that our Yammer network is pretty clean because we automatically delete things that are 2 years and they haven't really been in part of an active conversation. So that's just real quick in terms of the practical things that you can do and how you can kind of reach across the aisle, so to speak, and achieve a bit of a partnership with Risk or Legal. The second one on the next slide is really specific to group or site management. We heard a little bit about the concern, and rightly so, of how do you control that massive SharePoint footprint. Our environment, we have 15,000 team sites, just to give it color. So how do we ensure that all of those are adding value and things aren't kind of getting out of control? And same thing on the Yammer side. So what we did is we came up with this concept of endorsed groups, both team sites and Yammer groups, and our tactical kind of organic groups. The endorsed groups are top-down. It helps us to really establish a clear destination for conversations so we don't end up with 50 oil and gas groups that are hanging out there and confusing users. It also allows us to scale a little bit and focus our energy because we provide a community advisor for every single one of those endorsed communities or groups. And that really helps them to mature, helps them to continue to add value. But also on the tactical side, we have no barriers between anybody going ahead and spinning up a team site or a Yammer group. They can do it instantly. They get it right away. They can get about their business. We've got a fairly mature decommissioning process, though, that we layer in after the fact to ensure that post-provisioning, that group is still being used, it's still adding value, or hey, yeah, we do need to merge it because it is the 51st oil and gas group that's trying to be spun up. So again, something that's not really technical, but just gets into a little bit of the tactical governance of things to perhaps think about that might be relevant, as you try to manage just the growth so that it's not just a focus on the short term today, but something that's really sustainable across the next several years.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to all of our customers here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We'll put some next steps up on the stage. I know that you've seen these before, but we hope that you'll join us at some other events. And we have some awesome community conversations going on in the tech community, as well as additional resources there too. So thank you so much for sticking with us, and thank you so much and have a great rest of Ignite. Thank you.